After finishing a few run-throughs of Tales of the Jedi, in this video I'll be giving my ranking for all 6 episodes. So without further ado, let's get into it. In last place is the first episode, Life and Death. This is a great episode, as we get to see Ahsoka as a baby and how she becomes introduced to the Force. We see her culture and how they make her face death at such a young age. This is important for her character, as it allows her to accept death and move on, while also appreciating all the life around her. We get to see her use beast control to tame the beast and befriend it. Overall, I'm going to give this episode a solid 8 out of 10. The lack of action and connection to the overall story makes it that I can't rank it any higher. That leads to the next one up on the list in 5th place, and that is episode 3, Choices. This is another great episode, as we get to see Mace Windu and Count Dooku go on a mission together. They quickly bump heads about what to do. We get to see more of Mace Windu being obedient to the rules and following every instruction to the letter. Dooku, on the other hand, doesn't really care about the rules and cares more about what is morally right rather than what someone told him to do. This inevitably is what leads him to join Palpatine, as he sees that the Jedi are corrupt and only follow the Senate. We get to see this throughout this episode. Also, we get to see Count Dooku and Mace Windu fight alongside each other, which is another bonus to this episode. And overall, I'm giving this episode a 9 out of 10. In 4th place, neck and neck with the previous one, is episode 2, Justice. In this episode, we get to see Dooku in his younger years as Qui-Gon Jinn's master. We see them both go on a mission that shows more of the corruption of the Jedi and the Senate. The two Jedis are on a mission to investigate the kidnappings of a senator's son by his own people. We learn in fact that they did this because of how the senator only cares about himself and the capital city, while these people in the other villages are suffering from starvation. Even the senator's son understands why the villagers captured him. As the senator comes to get his son back with soldiers, the two Jedi help out the villagers. This leads to the villagers being outmatched, and it leads to Dooku taking on everyone while force choking the senator and almost killing him for what he has done. It is the first time we get to see Dooku use the dark side, and it shows perfectly why Dooku turned to the dark side, and how he's not really a bad person, but a good person who saw all the corruption and wanted to change it. Overall, this episode is very close to episode 3, but it is slightly better in my opinion, and with that is another 9 out of 10. And in 3rd place is the final episode, Resolve. In this episode, we start off at Padme's funeral, and we get to see the connection Ahsoka had with Padme. We also get to see her life after Order 66, and how she compromised herself by using the Force to save her new best friend. We see her by the name of Ashla, which represents the light side of the Force. When she uses the Force to save her friend, someone saw her using the Force and reported it to the Empire. The Empire then sent the Sixth Brother, one of the cooler looking Inquisitors. As Ahsoka comes back from selling the hay, she finds the village on fire, with everyone dead except an old man and her friend's brother, who reports Ahsoka to the Inquisitors. Ahsoka again saves the foolish man who betrayed her, as she is the light side of the Force. This leads to a confrontation of the Inquisitors and Ahsoka easily defeats the Inquisitor without a lightsaber, showing how powerful in the Force she is, with all the training she has been through in episode 5. We also get to see her join the fight against the Empire, as she realizes that that is what she is meant to do. This is a fantastic episode, and a 9.5 out of 10. The runner-up spot in 2nd place is episode 5, Practice Makes Perfect. This is a 10-minute episode, and has no right to be as good as it is, but it just works. We start off, and we see Ahsoka passing an easy Jedi test, and Anakin is not impressed, and thinks nothing good of it. He tells Ahsoka that it is a lousy test, and he asks her if she wants a real test, to which she accepts. This leads her to going through brutal training, with her being in the middle of a circle of clones, constantly being stunned. She does this drill over and over, and we get the hint that she keeps doing this on throughout the Clone Wars, getting better and better. This is Anakin's way of protecting Ahsoka, by teaching her to protect herself. It is brutal, yet effective, and it is why Anakin is one of the most powerful Jedi, and why Ahsoka is so powerful. This training leads her to surviving multiple times when she is on her own, and is also the reason she is able to survive Order 66. She uses the same spin move against the clones in the training as she does when Order 66 is activated. It makes Anakin's downfall even better, with him being the one who saved Ahsoka from Order 66. The episode finishes off with Rex in the last arc of the Clone Wars, where he says, "I hope all that training pays off." And this makes the one line so powerful, since we got to see all her training, and overall, this episode makes the Clone Wars better. So without a doubt, this episode is a 10 out of 10. And in first place, the best episode of this show in my opinion is episode 4, The Sith Lord. This episode is superb from start to finish, and it starts off in the middle of the Phantom Menace, with Dooku erasing Kamino from the Jedi archives. It then goes on to Dooku talking to Qui-Gon Jinn, voiced by Liam Neeson, about the intruder that Qui-Gon encountered on Tatooine, which we know is the Sith Lord Darth Maul. Qui-Gon says that he was well trained in the Jedi arts, and that he thinks it's a Sith. Being as naive as they are, the Council rejects this idea that the Sith have returned and don't believe Qui-Gon. So the Council sends Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan alone back to Naboo, and it leads to Qui-Gon's death at the hands of Darth Maul. The next scene opens up with Dooku by the great tree at the Jedi Temple. The music, tone, and dialogue with Yaddle is perfect, and it shows how sad and angry Dooku is about Qui-Gon's death. If the Jedi would have listened to Qui-Gon and sent more Jedi to help him, he would still be alive. We got to see that Dooku was already with Palpatine, but now, with his apprentice's death, it leads him to the dark side and to fully join Sidious. Dooku goes to meet up with his master at the Works, the same place he goes at the end of Attack of the Clones. There, Dooku gets angry with the Dark Lord and tells him that he should not have killed Qui-Gon Jinn. Palpatine says that they both lost an apprentice. Dooku then says that he could have been a powerful ally, but Sidious counters by saying, "For you, perhaps." Palpatine still doesn't trust Dooku, and the Jedi says that he has sacrificed everything for the Sith Lord's plan. He then names his best friends Sifo-Dyas, Kamino, and the clones. But again, Palpatine counters and says that he has done this for his own goals and for the greater good of the galaxy. Palpatine's manipulation is clear, and he starts to take control of Dooku. This forces Dooku into a confrontation with Yaddle, as she had followed him into the Works. She tries to convince him to join her, to bring the Dark Lord to justice. This scene is another great one, and even if I knew they would still fight, I still had a part inside of me that thought that Dooku might join her. But with all the mishaps of the Jedi, as seen in the previous 2 episodes, and the loss of Qui-Gon Jinn, Dooku makes his decision to fully join Sidious, the same way Anakin did in Revenge of the Sith. The fight is a good one, and in the middle of it, Yaddle still tries to convince Dooku that she and the Jedi Order were wrong, and that Qui-Gon didn't have to die. But this makes Dooku even angrier, as it triggers the reason why his apprentice died. After that, he goes full power on Yaddle and kills her in cold blood. This episode does a wonderful job of depicting Count Dooku's fall to the dark side, and also the fact that he's actually not a bad person, but simply a good person who saw the truth of the Jedi and wanted to change it. And with all that said about this episode, it is obviously another 10 out of 10, and if I could, I would give it an 11 out of 10. This show was a gift to us Star Wars fans, and it is some of the best Star Wars in a long time. Overall, I give this show a 10 out of 10. There is nothing that I would have changed to this show, as it is already almost flawless. From the music, the characters, the story, the tone, everything is 10 out of 10. Let me know in the comment section down below what your ranking for all 6 episodes is, and for the show as a whole. Like and subscribe to the channel, and check out the video on screen about my breakdown for all 6 episodes. But apart from that, have a great day.